Hi everyone, welcome to a new episode of Hue Spotlight. It is always fun to follow up on great artists as they move on to new projects, and that is what we are doing right now. I've got Andrew Shaver, Clever Hopes, and just with another new album out, right? The second one.
That's what's
That,
happening.
hey,
It's great to be back, Tracy.
yeah,
Yeah, I
just
mean, look, the first one went well. I thought, what the heck? Let's do it again. Why not?
I know, yeah, you're just kind of like, oh yeah, maybe I'll be a musician for a little while.
Yeah,
And look what
yeah, yeah.
happens. And
That's
then
it. I was like, well, I'll give it a go. And
yeah, give it a
it's kind
go.
of fun. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
kind of fun.
and it's not so bad
No,
actually.
it's not so bad. I mean, there are parts that aren't great, but like, come on. The rest of it gets outweighed by all the fun parts.
I know. Okay, because you do an album, and right, not every song is going to be a hit. Okay, but
Well, no, it can't be.
a new kind of familiar is the sophomore album for you. What was the process like? Easier or harder?
Well, it's interesting to compare it like that. Easier or harder than what? Easier than harder than my first album, or being a father, or making a play, or trying to
Or
do a hundred
moving,
other
yeah,
things.
moving away.
Yeah, moving away, exactly, all that stuff. It was at once easier because I knew the terrain,
Mhm.
and at the same time more difficult because I had done it before, and now I had expectations on the process, and I think not just the process but the results. I think the first time out on Artifact, the debut album, I had no expectations on results. I didn't even have expectations on process. I just wanted to go through it. And it was going to be whatever it was. And what it was at that point in my life, the most beautiful creative endeavor I'd ever been involved in. And I've been making things in one way or another, for the better part of 30 years now, kind of thing. So it was real highlight of my life. And I thought, okay, well, I'm so glad I did that once. And then it just, it struck a chord. I guess pun, it wasn't intended, but I'll just say it was. It struck a chord with people, and it really filled me with joy. The more, the further along in the process of releasing music I got. I just thought I'll write some songs, and then, oh, okay, I'll record some songs. Oh, okay, I'll release the songs. Oh, okay, I'll publicize. I'll put some effort into it. I'll play some gigs. And so I mean, I was going to say at the end of all that, but it's cyclical. There is no end to it. It just became the new album. I just kept writing songs, and a lot of changes that sort of referred to a little bit in my life as I was writing the songs, that became a new kind of familiar. And I went into the studio with those expectations. I had an experience now that it was, like I said, like the apex of my creative career. And so now then you go into studio going, well, yeah, can it be that? And no, it can't be, but it shouldn't be. It's a whole new thing, and yet it's familiar. And so the album itself, the whole process, is a new kind of familiar.
Yeah. Well, you are a very good storyteller. How would you categorize or describe your music?
You know, I thanks for saying I'm a good storyteller. That means a lot to me. I've spent my life involved in storytelling one way or the other, so that's really nice. And I think when it comes to writing songs, I think that I take narrative first. A narrative first approach to my songwriting, because I'm not I'm a passable guitar player, and I've gotten better over the last few years since writing the songs for Artifact. I am getting better, but like, I'm not musicianship first when it comes to my songs. So I think I get surrounded by incredible musicians who end up turning the songs into these beautiful pieces of musical narrative poetry, that just fill me with joy. And I think the music sits in, I think it sits pretty squarely in the kind of Americana, indie folk, roots world. That's a lot of the music that I'm primarily influenced by, and have been for, well, I mean, gosh, going back till since I was a kid, really, like listening to Willie Nelson with my dad, kind of thing. So it's no surprise that I've got a bit of a country sort of bend
Mm-hmm.
to the songs that I write. But I don't really subscribe to a sort of um, formula to my songwriting. And now it's funny going into the first process on Artifact. I just imagined that my songs were super simple. Because they were really the first sort of batch of
Mm-hmm.
songs that I'd written to and sculpted and crafted to a place where I wanted to record them. I remember saying that to my buddy Matt Barber, who produced both albums and mixed both albums. But at the time, we were going into the first process together, and he was like, "So I think I'll probably chart these for musicians in studio." And I was like, "Oh my god, do you even need to? They're so simple." And he said, "No, they're not." And I thought, "Oh, what? They're not?" And he said, "No, that's often." And he's been working with a lot of kind of first time out songwriters. He said, "Often, like." That's the thing with new songwriters. They're oddly complicated, the songs, because they don't necessarily follow a formula. And I thought that was really interesting. And so I don't, I don't know. I think my songs on this album, New Kind of Familiar, I think again there are resonance of
Mm-hmm.
Artifacts songs on this. So even the songs themselves, there's a familiarity to them, I think.
So now getting into your life, you're at a new stage in life. You had mentioned
Yeah.
a new father, I mean, beautiful
Yeah.
relationship,
Mm.
and moving away. These songs now that are in the second album
Yeah.
are definitely, you're speaking about that. So
Mm.
interesting. How did the birth of your son really make a mark on you?
Mm. Oh my God. How long do we have? My goodness. Um, I mean, it changed that process, and it's not all on him, right? I was going to say he changed my life, but he did. But we, his mother, my partner Mel, who gave birth to him, that whole process of conceiving a child and watching her body change and him grow inside of her, and thinking about, oh my God, this is the future now. The future is now, and for the next, you know, I don't know,
Forever.
until I die, forever. I was like, this is the first time in my life I've ever considered anything to that extent, and I don't think it's. I mean, I was going to say oddly, but oddly, if I'm speaking to an Andrew from a few years ago, oddly, but like once, I don't know. There's something about it's freed me. I have such a new freedom in my life within what I think maybe until you have a kid. Until one has a kid, it's like I don't know. How can you have freedom in the craziness of like just raising a child and having to just be at their beck and call? And I don't know. It's just like it just refocuses things, and it's a big it's something I'm thinking about a lot, and I'm speaking to a lot of other parents uh, about like new parents who are newish parents, in the last few years, whatever, who are artists and creatives, and that who are walking the line and of maintaining their creative identity and their artistic independence while also being the best parent they can be. And the thing is, I don't think one negates the other. I just think that, and in fact, I think it's the opposite. I think it feeds into each other. And so I feel like I'm at my most, I guess vital, and there's a like I'm exhausted, sure, but like who isn't? But like there's a clarity to things now that comes and goes. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm not sitting here like I'm Buddha or something.
Yeah, no, yeah.
But
It's not
yeah,
all bliss, let me tell you.
it's no, it's definitely not. But like, yeah, it just it previously, previously in the life of Andrew Shaver, uh, hours, days, into weeks can just like roll into each other, and it doesn't. the output, the sort of focus of it was allowed to be, and in fact, I wanted it to be kind of foggy and vague, and so that like what came, and you just can't have that anymore. You can to the same extent. I'm a little more judicious about that.
And also, your schedule is now dictated
Well,
by a
totally.
little kid.
Totally. And but that I find that really I can I not always, I'm not going to talk in absolutes, but like I find that helpful. And I'm like, okay,
Hmm.
I have this half an hour before I comes down, or whatever, because I
Yep.
woke up before him, and then I drop him off at daycare, and I'm like, okay, and now I've got this hour and a half. And anyways, like it just I'm not talking about anything sort of revolutionary here, but into my life it's been really helpful. Yeah.
Oh, no. And I mean, that's the beauty that comes through in your music. Now, as we're talking about the joys of parenthood
Mm.
and newborns and new life, also death plays
Yeah.
a part in this.
Yeah. 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 I was, I lost a friend, but the world lost an incredible actor. And husband, father, in Brian Dennehy, early in the pandemic, we were a month into it. April 15th, he died, 2020. And there's a song on the album called Horse Racket, which is a love letter to Brian and our time together, experiences we shared, conversations we had, phone calls, voicemails he left, text message he sent, things he said in rehearsal that I was like, oh, I got to write that down. Because I worked with him on four or five different occasions over the better part of about a decade. And dating back to 2010, I guess, at the Stratford Festival, I met him. And we worked on a play together by Harold Pinter called The Homecoming. I was assistant directing. The director had no need for an assistant, but I just sort of like wedged my way in because I wanted to meet the sheriff from Rambo, and there he was, and I took to him. He reminds me of my father, and it was just nice to my father's still alive, but it was just nice to have Brian around like that, and I I basically followed him wherever he wanted to go for a while there. If he was doing a show in Chicago and he wanted me there, I was like, I'm coming. If he was doing a show in Connecticut and he wanted me there, I was coming. And I did that for a bit, and I'm so grateful that I did. I'm so happy that I did. And so when he passed away, I started writing the song. He was one of the last things that he had said to me. I'd asked him about his career and how he felt about it, and he said, "Well, listen, kid, like O'Neill, Eugene O'Neill was his favorite American player. He said, like O'Neill said, it's a whore's racket, but I don't know. I think I left a mark." And I was like, okay, well, that's the beginning of the song right there. And I didn't get it ready in time. I wasn't happy with it because I'd started writing it before Artifact, the recording process of Artifact, and it just didn't. It wasn't ready. It wasn't that batch of songs, and then I came back to it in the interim, and I'm so happy that I waited because the gang of musicians that I have on New Kind of Familiar, that they just got it in the studio because we went live off the floor on both albums, but particularly in this, we were all in the same room. Like Eva and I weren't even isolated in a vocal booth; we were all right there, and there was just something really special about the take that's on the album for Horace Racket. We had done one prior to that. And then Joe Grass, who's the guitar player on in your right ear, if you're listening on headphones, he was on both albums. Atheist in your left, Athie Yervin on the new album. But Joe was like, "What is this song?" And it's cool. It's strange. And it's like, okay. And then I told him, sort of what I just told you, and he was like, "Oh wow, okay, yeah, let's roll." And we just sort of went into it, and that's the take that came out of it. We had no idea where we were going to end the song, how long that outro was going to go, and it was just the stuff of like musical alchemy. It was really beautiful, and we sort of sat in silence, waiting, for it all to dissipate. And Joe was the first person to make a noise. He was like, "Yeah, man, yeah, that helped. Having the story helped," and that's the take. So that's what ends the album. Yeah.
I can just see you in the room with all of these incredible musicians. You mentioned
Mm,
Matt, and yay, Matt, former Winnipegger, or he
Yeah,
lived close to Winnipeg. I
that
mean,
barber,
Eva, gorgeous voice and a beautiful person too. But
top
like I
notch.
said, like you just come with these stories, and yeah, and then it all makes sense. And I just
Mm.
think that for you personally, like making this album, yes, you've gone through a lot, but this one in particular must be close to your heart, or
Oh
is like
yeah,
as true as if anybody wanted to know who Andrew Shaver is,
yeah,
it
yeah.
would be this album.
I think so. I think yeah, sure. I thank you. I accept that. It's interesting. I love Artifact. I've as you can tell based on what I've said about it, but like it is tricky. I don't necessarily want to go back and pick up all those songs again because they were so based in like this emotional moment in my life that was full of angst and turmoil and heartbreak. And then by the time the album came out, I was kind of on the other side of that. And that's great. I'm so happy for that. I don't foresee that being the situation with New Kind of Familiar because I feel like this album is about transition and memory and thinking about the past but moving forward, and that's life. That will continue to be the case forevermore. Maybe we'll talk in 2 years, Tracy, and you'll ask me and I'll be like, nah,
Oh
it
yeah, with
doesn't
when you
resonate
have
anymore.
five
But
kids, all right.
yo, get out of here. In two
It'll,
years? Oh no.
yeah, Clever Hopes will be a different name, but
Yeah, right. Yeah, what would it be? Oh my goodness.
oh, oh,
Sad
you'll be,
depression.
yes, you'll be doing kids music by then. But
Oh, I don't
um,
mind that. Sure, why not?
no, that a beautiful album. Will you be touring? But you could always bring your son on
Yeah.
tour.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I would love to do that. I toured a lot of theater in my days, and I love being on the road. And I've always wanted to um I've always wanted to get in a van of some kind, big enough for, with my family. And I've always wanted to go around to baseball dime, like the baseball fields in North America, and watch like minor league games, pro games. I love baseball, and so that along the way, maybe play some gigs and then go to Cincinnati and then play some gigs and then keep driving and then get to Louisville and play some gigs, uh, and then obviously come back through Canada. But anyways, that idea of getting on the road with my kid and with my family and playing shows and doing other things, I, it would really thrill me to take some time to do that. So
Well,
I think it's bigger than just a tour to play shows. The shows would be embedded in something a bit larger, hopefully.
well, that sounds like a great summer road trip. And hey, we've
Right?
got the Winnipeg Gold Eyes here. Great
That's
stadium.
right. That's right. Yeah, 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 yeah. There you go. No
And
kidding.
we're home to some famous hot dogs. So, hey, the invitation is open. But
Okay.
to wrap things up, though,
Sure.
you are going to
Oh yeah.
introduce your song. And it's different, right?
Yeah, it's funny because you and I had spoken last about a song in the album that I did a version of for you, but I don't think we should do that one. It's that song, but I did the French version of it as well. So I everyone's on every album on each now, I've recorded a French version of one of the singles. And so on the first album, there's a track called Made You Mad that I translated with a buddy in Montreal whose name is Emmanuel Schwartz, terrific actor and musician, and we released it as Je te fais tant de peine. And on this album, there's a song called "Thrown It Open." I worked with Emmanuel again, and it's called "La Fenêtre." And so what's getting thrown open is the window in English, and we've gone with "La Fenêtre" in French. And it's a song about getting ready for the big thing, making sure that because it's coming, but it's not. Excuse me. I don't think it's going to really truly arrive unless you make space for the big thing, the big change. And I was ready for that big change. And well, as viewers and listeners, based on our previous 20-minute conversation, a big change has happened in my life in the last couple of years. So the song is about just getting ready for that. And so I the video, the performance video that you're about to watch, I recorded at Fang Studio, Joel Plaskett's studio, where I recorded the album. But I went back into Fang, did a solo acoustic version of the French song, French version of "Throwing It Open." And my buddy Joe Cobden, who's the funniest man I know, directed it and edited it. My buddy Daniel Jardine shot it. Did a beautiful job. And Thomas Stasier is the actor in the video. He's the engineer at Fang Recording. And I asked him if he would be okay to play a bit of a character while I was doing my performance video for this song. And he was like, all right, man, I'm up for whatever. And I couldn't be happier with it, because it is at once, I think, a beautiful sort of touching rendition of the song that I'm happy with, but it's also theatrical and I think very funny. So I hope you enjoy it.
Là-haut, à l'étage, oh oui, les lumières flashent. C'est elle, c'est clair, qui t'ouvre la fenêtre. Et sans comprendre, tu escalades l'aide, tu grimpes vers la fenêtre qu'elle laisse grande ouverte. Elle laisse la fenêtre grande ouverte. Elle reste ouverte. Elle laisse la fenêtre grande ouverte. Elle reste ouverte et tu te jettes dans la fête. T'enlèves tes choses, te capotes sur le lit, plus de détours. Pour une fois, tu dis ok, vas-y, elle dit que tu goûtes le blues, mais tu sens le cri, tout devient flou. Plus tu cherches, plus elle déguerpit, elle laisse la fenêtre grande ouverte. Elle reste ouverte. Elle laisse la fenêtre grande ouverte. Elle reste ouverte et elle se jette dans ta tête. Les gens vont, les gens viennent, c'est tout ce que je me souviens. Main sur le front à creuser les trous sans fond. C'est tout ou rien, les gens vont, les gens viennent, c'est tout ce que je me souviens. Main sur le front à creuser les trous sans fond. C'est tout ou rien. C'est tout ou rien. C'est tout ou rien. Tout ou rien. Sinon c'était tout pour la fin. Tu laisses la fenêtre grande ouverte et tu restes ouverte. Tu la laisses grande ouverte et tu restes ouverte.
Thomas?